High up on an isolated hilltop, a farmer named Lencho looks out over his rippling cornfields. It's been a great year, and his family's survival depends entirely on this single, promising harvest. All the crop needs now is a little rain. When the clouds roll in and the first drops fall, Lencho is thrilled. He sees those raindrops as coins, literal money falling from the sky to water his livelihood. But the relief is brief. The wind violently picks up. The sky darkens, and the rain morphs into massive, heavy hailstones. In a matter of minutes, the valley is covered. The hail leaves the fields completely white, burying the corn and destroying the entire crop. With the harvest gone, Lencho's family faces a bleak reality, an impending winter with no food and zero income. Facing starvation, a typical farmer might look for a loan or seek help from neighbors. Lencho doesn't. He possesses an ironclad, almost stubborn belief in a higher power, a faith so absolute that it entirely bypasses practical, earthly solutions. He walks to town and does something extraordinary. He addresses an envelope directly to God. Inside, he writes a straightforward request. He needs exactly 100 pesos to replant his fields and feed his family until the next harvest. For Lencho, stranded on that hill with no neighbors and no safety net, this letter is a logical next step. He views God as a provider who is personally aware of his specific struggle. By putting pen to paper, he treats the divine like a local official, someone who can be reached with a clear request and who is obligated to help an honest man in need. That letter leaves the quiet hilltop and arrives here, landing right in the middle of standard bureaucratic reality. When the mail carriers sort the pile and find an envelope addressed to God, the initial reaction is entirely expected. They burst out laughing. It's a completely absurd request to process on a Tuesday morning, but the postmaster stops laughing. He looks at the letter and recognizes the sheer weight of the belief required to write it. Rather than discarding it as a joke, he decides to protect that fragile hope. He taps into a deep well of empathy and starts taking up a collection. He pulls from his own salary and quietly asks his employees and friends to pitch in whatever they can to help a desperate stranger. This animated fill chart shows the reality of human limitations. Despite their genuine sacrifice, the fund stalls out at exactly 70 pesos, 30 short of the demand. They pack those bills into an envelope, stamped with a single signature, God. The human miracle is ready. This act reveals how the world actually responds to a crisis. Lencho expects a divine intervention, but his answer is actually arriving through the pockets of ordinary people who chose to care. A few days later, Lencho returns to the post office and receives his reply. He opens the envelope, counts the money, and instead of falling to his knees in gratitude, he becomes furious. His logic is entirely consistent with his worldview. He knows God is flawless and wouldn't make a simple addition error. Therefore, the missing 30 pesos must have been intercepted by the humans handling the mail. Outraged, Lencho marches back to the counter, grabs a pen, and writes a second letter to the Almighty. He demands the rest of the money, but adds a strict instruction. Don't send it through the post office, because the employees are a bunch of crooks. The result is a sharp, painful contrast. The postal workers gave up their own earnings to save a man they didn't know, and in return, that man brands them as thieves. The very kindness that saved him becomes the reason he insults them. It leaves us with two heavy truths. First, faith acts as an incredibly powerful survival mechanism. When the hail destroyed everything, Lencho's belief gave him a reason to wake up the next day. Second, genuine humanity is often entirely thankless. True charity means doing the right thing, even when the person you're helping might never know it, or worse, might actively blame you for their own misfortune. That is the lingering tragedy of Lencho's story. His unwavering faith kept him alive, but it also blinded him to the world around him. If we spend all our time looking upward for divine perfection, we risk missing, and even punishing, the imperfect, everyday angels standing right in front of us.